All right, it is Friday, December the 5th, and thank you for joining us for another podcast episode of Legal Leads Group's Lunch and Learns, where we like to provide information and insight as into all the things that we do for our law firm clients. So you could either get wowed by it and pay us a bunch of money for your services, our services, or you can actually try to take the tips and tools that we utilize here and implement them yourself. We're a big believer in providing free information because some law firms want to try to either do this themselves internally, or maybe they have a current staff that they really like working with, such as an outside vendor, but things aren't going as smooth, and they can take some of the insight that we provide and pass it off to their current providers. Nevertheless, today's topic of discussion, once again, is going to be about Google Ads for personal injury attorneys, but it's about a very important piece of that. It's things you need to consider when either trying to fix a current campaign or launching a new campaign. Today, I'm joined by our Director of Paid Ads, Igor Krakovsky. Igor has over 2 decades of experience in paid ads management. He's a wizard when it comes to legal and medical and e-com, and he really has a strong grasp on a full spectrum of paid ads, not just Google Ads alone. We're also joined by Austin Altman. He is one of our newest team members. He's also a paid ad specialist. Austin comes to us from the Scorpion family tree, where he was a VIP ad rep for leading law firms. So he is extremely well versed in cost per acquisition, cost per click, bidding strategies that are all focused on how he can help law firms such as personal injury lawyers, workers' comp, criminal defense lawyers, employment law firms strategize to have a campaign that's productive. So thank you both for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Oh, yep. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Just bear with me real quick. Let me get into this. Let's see real quick here. All right, so as always, at any time during these videos, if you want to learn specific information about the company, you can visit www.lucrativelegal.com. Up here in the right-hand corner, click on Law Firm News. This is where we have all of our newest videos, blogs, and this is the newest blog article. It's how to fix your personal injury attorney Google ad campaigns. All right. So, just gonna kind of start off real quick with Austin. All right. Just give me a quick rundown. Uh, to you, what's the importance and why would you run a Google Ads audit prior to making any changes to a current PI campaign?
Yeah, well, performing a Google Ads audit is crucial to identify your areas of improvement for your campaign and to identify your campaign strengths. So before you make changes, you want to make sure that you know exactly what's working and what's not. Because if you just start making changes where you feel things need to be improved, that's like trying to sail across the ocean without a compass or a map. You really have no direction and you don't know exactly what areas should be modified. So, performing an audit, you can identify which metrics will indicate what aspects of your campaign are not functioning or not optimized to succeed at their full potential. So these metrics, for example, could be quality score, click-through rate, budget loss impression share, rank loss impression share, or ad strength. This will help, those type of metrics will help uncover inefficiencies with your campaign and the root cause of performance issues. So before making any major changes, you really need to comb through your campaigns and ensure that um, your key performance metrics are helping direct each significant change that you're wanting to make.
I think, thanks for providing that insight. I think what Austin is getting at, audience, is this: when you walk into the doctor office, the doctor doesn't just start writing you a prescription. Okay, they ask you questions. Where does it hurt? What? Tell me your symptoms. Let's run a blood test. Let's run an X-ray. The doctor needs to do some digging around, some probing to diagnose what's even wrong with you. If you are running a Google ad campaign focused on, let's say, motor vehicle accidents or just general personal injury cases, and you think that your cost per acquisition is way too high, or you're getting crappy leads, you're trying to get car accident cases and everything you're getting is for slip and fall, or you get a ton of med mal calls. Before you go in and start hacking around, you need to take time to diagnose what potentially is wrong, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong before you start making changes, or you're going to get your train wreck. So I appreciate that real quick. So let's dive into some of the things here that Austin talked about: checking current quality score, reviewing current SEO rankings, analyzing pages, reviewing ad copy, headlines, and extensions. What this article gets into real quickly is what we believe at Legal Leads Group are the top 10 things to consider when fixing your PI ads. So, with that, the number one thing that we think of is keywords, and does your landing page contain keywords? Igor, can you talk about that real quick?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So, your landing page must contain the keywords you're bidding on paid on Google Ads, but you can't stuff the page with keywords, for example, like it's 2010 again. Google's NLP is pretty smart and it looks for topical relevance, not just exact matches. So I check for multiple things when looking at landing pages. I look at headlines and H1 tags. Does the primary headline include the core keyword or a close variant? If you're bidding on personal injury attorneys, the H1 better say something like Florida's top-rated personal injury attorneys, for example. Body content is the content supporting keywords that are natural in about 100 to 200 words. URL and metadata is the keyword in the URL slug and title tag. So it's very important that your Google Ads, for example, headlines are 100% relevant to your H2, H3 tags. The more relevance you can create between your ad on Google Ads and the landing page, the higher the relevance score, the higher the quality score, the lower your CPCs, and eventually the lower your cost per acquisition.
Thank you, thank you. And to kind of retouch on what Igor is explaining, there is a very strong organic SEO undertone with your paid landing pages. And I think a lot of people forget that. They separate PPC and organic SEO, when in all reality, they're one and the same. Trying to have an effective paid ad campaign without taking into consideration organic SEO is like going to the gym and only doing arms. You're not going to get really physically fit for any kind of sports activity. You need to train your overall body. You need to eat right, sleep well. It all works together for the better good. Your organic SEO will play into your landing pages, and without taking that keyword into consideration, you're going to really have a lower quality score, which is going to significantly have a higher cost per click and a lower ad impression share. And that kind of parlays into the next topic we brought up, which is headlines. Austin, can you touch on headlines and why it's so vital to utilize the headlines from your ad campaign as header tags and on the landing page, and explain the difference between a header tag and a headline inside the ads?
For sure. And to Igor's earlier point, Google currently, their top indicator as to which ad to position highest is they want the most relevant ad, the most relevant landing page to show up for users' searches, which makes sense. They want to make sure that their search engine results are relevant to their users. So for us as advertisers, we need to ensure that our ad and our landing page are consistent and also relevant to the searches that we are showing up for. What Nick is saying is that you need to ensure your headline that shows up in your ad copy matches or is very similar to the H1 tag or the header that shows up on your landing page. What Google will do is use their bots and crawlers to crawl through landing pages and look for the terms that are used on your ad copy to make sure that they are found on the landing page. That's how they're ensuring the relevancy. So your H1 tag should match the exact headline that you are using in your ad copy. That will basically ensure you have the highest relevancy possible. And so your title tag is also vital. And um, it should include in one of your ad headlines or a close variant of one of those ad headlines. Again, this is just to build relevancy and to show Google you are the most relevant option for that user and for that user's search.
Let me
Lastly,
break it.
yep, go ahead.
Let me sorry. Let me break this down real quick for the everyday user or viewer of this blog post. Because Igor and Austin have a high level of Google Ads. I'm going to try to simplify it. So if you're trying to do this yourself, it makes sense. Google doesn't know who the best personal injury attorney is in a certain geographical market. It doesn't have rational thinking. It's forced to work in a system of ones and zeros. An algorithm is just a mathematical equation. So it's pre-coded variables you're trying to check off. What you're trying to do is create a layup. A layup is the easiest shot to make in basketball outside of a dunk. A layup is simple. You're trying to make it a layup for Google within less than a second to determine what landing page provides the most information related to the user's search question. Okay, so for example, let's just say somebody keys in the word car accident attorney, Calabasas, California. If your slug says Calabasas hyphen car hyphen accident hyphen attorneys, that's the slug. And your H1 tag says Calabasas car accident attorneys. The H1 and the slug match. Let's say you have a couple paragraph contents there, and somewhere in the paragraph body is the keyword phrase Calabasas car accident attorneys. And let's say you come down to an H2 tag and it says types of cases are Calabasas car accident attorneys represent. Well, now you use the header tag also in the H2. And then you come to some H3s, and the first H3 says chain reaction auto accidents. And the next one says uninsured motorist accidents. And the next H3 says rideshare accidents. And from rideshare, you drop into some H4s and you put Uber Lyft. That is how you build headline relevancy. Now, it sounds a lot like organic SEO, and it is, okay? But that is what you have to do on the landing page. The paradigm shift, the pendulum shift, where you're going to migrate out of organic SEO and migrate into PPC mentality is pretty much in your second H2 tag. Your second header might say something along the lines of, why turn to John Smith Law Firm when looking for a motor vehicle accident lawyer in Calabasas? And then your H3s beneath that are going to be headline copies. Open 24 hours a day, no fee guarantee, 40 years of experience, $100 million won. Your headlines now become header tags on that page. So your header tags have root keywords and headline copy. The Google bot goes ding, 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 ding. This landing page checks off 98 out of 100 variables. John Smith's competitors are checking off 94 out of 100 variables. Ergo, because John Smith checks off more variables, his page ranks better.
Correct. That was a really good explanation for people who don't kind of swim in our world of Google Ads, don't really understand the terms, etc. That was a good explanation.
Okay, so the next part of this that I want to get into, and I think this is super important, and Igor, I want you to tackle this one because this is something that we're a believer in removing options from the menu is what I call conversions and controlling bounce, and can the visitor access other pages from the landing page?
So it's a yes and no question, and I'll give you an example of why yes and why no. So in cases where you're focused on driving, for example, car accident cases only. You're not going after personal injury, which is a wide or general category of different practice types within PI, but you specifically want to go after car accidents. And if that's your campaign that's solely focused on car accident attorneys and finding people who had just got into an accident and looking for attorneys, your landing page has to be a dead end for that user, meaning that your landing page shouldn't have any links outside maybe of your typical logo that's clickable back to the main site. Otherwise, it should not have any links out. The user should be guided through the landing page to take action that you want the user to take. For PI or car accident attorneys, it's typically a phone call because when the user places a phone call, the conversion ratio into a signed case goes up tremendously. So if you want user to place that phone call into the firm, you better have CTAs or call to action with the phone number of the firm or your tracking number. And that's the action you want the user to take. Some landing pages will also have a form, so the user can either submit a form or place a phone call. Now, where this changes is where you're running on Google Ads a more general, a wider reach campaign, let's say for a personal injury attorney, which can include car accidents, slip and falls, medical malpractice, etc., etc. In that case, if your landing page doesn't talk about all of these different practice areas, I would have links out to the specific practice areas because the user is likely looking for a specific practice area, but they search for a personal injury attorney. So you want to guide them into the practice area they're actually looking for. In this particular case, I would have a couple of links out, but very strategically placed. And when they land on those secondary pages, those pages also have to be thought of, meaning where's the user going to go next? Is he or she going to take our preferred action, like a phone call or a form submit? So in most of our cases, we create very focused, practice specific campaigns, like going after car accident victims, going after truck accident victims. And so the landing pages need to have a dead end because we want them to take a certain action on that landing page and not bounce anywhere else.
Great, and that was super well said. I'm again kind of simplified a little bit for the viewers at home and people watching this trying to do themselves. Look, if you are trying to just get car accident cases out of Calabasas, California, you don't want commercial truck, you don't want med mal, you don't want premises liability, you just want car accident cases specifically in Calabasas or the San Fernando Valley. Having a landing page with no menu access points is going to do you some justice because you can load the whole page specifically about car accidents. And when the user lands on it, it's kind of like a trap. They're stuck there. They can get information from paragraph content and header tags. They can't do anything other than fill out a form or call you. And Google might reward you with a higher quality score, so on and so forth. But there's a real important thing with Google Ads called A/B testing, essentially having multiple campaigns working to see what works better. There may even be a benefit to saying, look, I'm going to build some landing pages that are 100% sticky. There's no way to bounce off of it. But maybe I'm going to also run a general PI page, and that's going to have a whole bunch of stuff on there. And maybe you find out that this general PI page, because Google can kind of stick it to you because it can show up for a couple different areas rather than car accidents, maybe you actually get a lower cost per click. Maybe because this landing page is solely focused on car, Google jacks up your CPC. And on this page, because you can kind of buy a whole bunch of stuff, you get a lower CPC. Maybe you don't. But that's the point of having split testing because what works today will not work tomorrow. You have to constantly change it. So there is a benefit to locking a potential searcher into one sticky page. There could be a benefit to letting them browse around. You got to run with it and you got to test it and retest it and retest it and check it and check it. And I think that this also is going to parlay into one of the other things that's super important, which are called site extensions. Austin, can you touch on site extensions?
Yeah, for sure. Site extensions are a great way not only to uh, kind of reinforce that relevancy that we were talking about earlier, but also to own a larger amount of real estate on the SERP, the search engine results page. So when it comes to site extensions, there are so many that you could be utilizing, and I am a big advocate of utilizing as many as possible. The more fully flushed out extensions you can have, and the more you are using, the better. The more real estate you can own on that SERP. So you should be utilizing structured snippets. You should be utilizing site links. You should be utilizing callouts. You should be utilizing location extensions. You can utilize temporary headline or description extensions. These are all different categories of extensions that will just reinforce relevancy, give you more real estate, as I said, but also you can add more features to your ad that will help it differentiate it from the rest of the ads. So having unique images and image extensions with your ads will separate them from the pack where everything is showing up just as bland text. You can have a multitude of extensions, which the more the better. And this, again, not only reinforces your relevancy to Google and to Google's bots, but it'll also help you own more of that SERP. And the more you have, the more relevancy you show, the higher Google will position your ad.
Perfect. And I think, again, for the users at home, with these videos, we're trying to give you tips and tactics that not only we utilize here, but things that you can do by yourself for free that are going to make a significant change in your quality score. Because the higher your Google quality score, the lower your cost per click, the more ad impression share you get. Your Google quality score is really like the thermometer, the temperature thermometer for your ad campaigns. You need to really, really focus on that. And when you talk about site links and headlines and keywords and structuring pages, it all has this organic SEO undertone because it does. This article talks about 10 things that we think are the most important. It goes into calls to action. It goes into how to use DKI. Definitely research DKI. You want to learn about that, the pros and cons to it. It talks about A/B testing, okay? And it gets into geo-targeting, which is super specific, not just for Google ads, but geo-targeting is huge for paid ads like Meta. You can do a lot of cool, funky stuff with it for Meta, okay? Keywords and negative keywords. You want to touch on that as well, okay? And as you get closer towards the end of the article, we get into the number one topic. So before we get into this, I'm going to lead off here. I'm going to pass it to Igor and Austin. Setting a realistic budget and spend. Now, all the stuff we just talked about, that is the icing on the cake. That is like you got your sniper, you have your ground soldiers, all this jazz. But you cannot go into a gunfight with a squirt gun. Let's leave the military analogy off the table for a second. Let's talk football because I love football. Everybody likes to say it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog, and that's BS. It is BS. I'm sorry. Yes, having a fighting spirit. Yes, having technique and tactics and knowledge. It's phenomenal. But if you're 4'2" and you're going up against someone that's 10 feet tall, 900 pounds, I don't care what tactic you have, you're going to get pounded. You cannot go up against an 800-pound gorilla if you're a squirrel. You're done. It's not happening. All the stuff that we just talked about is the tactics. It's the skilled tricks that you can do. But if you don't have a realistic spend, you are walking into a gunfight with a squirt gun and you are going to get destroyed and you're going to have horrible results. You're not going to get any cases and you're going to light your money on fire. Igor, talk real quick about why it's so important when calculating ROAS and trying to get an actual campaign to work to have a true realistic spend.
Well, so when you look at the budget, your projected spend has to align with realistic outcomes and not just kind of pie in the sky KPIs. So a lot of times I reverse engineer from the goal and then work backwards. So for example, if I need 50 leads a month at $200 cost per lead, and my conversion rate is 10% and landing page converts at 5%, I'll need 1,000 conversions or 20,000 clicks. At $2 CPC, for example, that's $40,000 a month. And if the budget is $8,000 a month, as an example, obviously that's not happening. So you have to use historical benchmarks like average CPCs or industry CPCs, conversion rates, seasonality, and ramp up time. And also, you can't forget about budget pacing. Google burns daily budget evenly unless you use accelerated delivery. But that spikes costs. So I typically check for like, is the monthly budget divisible by 30.4 days in an average month? Are there any day parting or any kind of device bid adjustments or bid modifications that could be draining the budget inefficiency? Any shared budgets across campaign with mismatched goals. So you really have to approach budget strategically with realistic outcomes. Look at historical data. And then once your campaigns are ready to go into the ROAS territory, once they earn that kind of respect from Google and you can be profitable with that bidding strategy, it becomes a little bit easier to manage the budget thereafter. So I'll stop in case anyone has questions because I know this is technical.
No, this is good. This is good. Austin, go ahead and give me your 2 cents real quick, and then I'm gonna also chime in here real quick.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what Igor said, and not to say exactly the same thing, but another thing you have to consider is your geo-targeting with while keeping in mind your budget size. So if you're targeting the entire state of California and going back to what Igor said, or Igor's example of $8,000 monthly budget, that is going to be that budget will be spread so thin across the entire state. So you may be getting clicks and you may be getting conversions or impressions, but they are so uh, spread out and spread thin that it's not concentrated in one area and your ad is not saturating the certain area that you really want to target. So having too small of a budget or over targeting too large of an area in too large of a population size, you can't saturate the market with your ads because there's something we call in advertising a rule of seven, which nowadays it's more of a rule of 21 or 27. And that just means it takes 7 touch points of a user seeing your ads before they actually convert. So that means not only does your user need to see your ad, they need to see it multiple times across multiple different placements. So again, keep if if you're having big expectations, you need to match that with a big budget and making sure that you're saturating the market with your advertising to lead to that eventual acquisition that you're really going after. That's the
I'm
only
gonna
way to do it. Yep, go ahead.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick, and I'm gonna. These videos are not made for children. These videos are made for adults, and this video is made for personal injury lawyers. And I love helping PI lawyers because PI lawyers have the mindset of an athlete. They understand they have to sacrifice for months and years to reap the benefits of their work, their labor. They have to finance these cases. They take a huge risk. If you're out there watching this and you're a PI attorney, I'm talking directly to you. I love you and respect you because you have you know what, okay? You have big, you know what to take the risks you do to do what you do. It's like an athlete. They got to hit the gym, diet, workout, study games, and practice, lose games, practice, go watch more film to get to the point where they want to be. And 99% of the athletes quit, and the 1% don't, and they stick it out and they win. PI attorneys, you do the same thing. So I'm going to talk to you very bluntly right now. What Igor and Austin talked about is the actual technical level of why you have to have a big campaign. I'm going to give you the down and dirty. Google does not know the difference between a plumber and a PI attorney, but it understands opportunity cost. Google knows how much money you can make on a plumbing job, an electrical job, a divorce case, and a good car accident case. It's proof right here. The average cost for the phrase plumber near me is $9.80 to $40. $40 is a high. $9.80. I've seen it lower than this. Down here it says $8.67. I've seen it even lower than this for the word plumber near me. It's a phrase. Google does not know what the difference is. The average cost for a car accident attorney near me, $150 to $400. I see it $500 all day long, as high as $1,000. Google sets the bid based upon how much money it thinks you can make. And this is a click, not a call, not a case. Google doesn't care if you are a plumber, if you're an attorney, or you run an e-commerce business. It cares about you're benefiting them by buying clicks, and they believe that if you hit a certain ROAS, you should shut up and expect it. Take it. Let me explain. If you were selling high-end business wear, sport coats, jackets, cufflinks, ties, men's, women's dresses, purses, high-end office wear. Let's say you spent $4 million let's say you spent $1 million on Google Ads. You spent $1 million on Google Ads. Google thinks that if you brought in $4 million and $1 million covers your Google Ads and $1 million covers your office overhead, cost of doing business, all that kind of stuff, and $1 million on the actual goods you sold, and you made $1 million profit. If you doubled your money, Google thinks that that's a great campaign and you should be satisfied with those results. You tell that to a PI lawyer and they freak out. If I have to spend $500,000 to make $1 million, that's not enough money for me. You have to calculate ROAS correctly. You have to remember the actual cost per click and what Google believes is effective. You are not going to get a 10 or 12x. It is not going to happen. And if you're talking to a marketing company telling you they're going to get you 300 times your money, oh, for $2,000 a month or $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month, we're going to bring in 20, 30 quality cases. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. Okay? So you have to go into a campaign understanding opportunity cost and understanding the actual cost per click and work the numbers backwards. If you are telling your ad rep that you are trying to get 20 cases a month, and you know that between minimum policies and bad cases and good cases, you're going to make no less than $15,000 per case. You're literally telling your ad rep that you want to bring in $300,000 a month. Well, if you divide that by 4, that's $75,000. If you're not prepared to spend $75,000 to bring in 300, you're way out of the ballpark when it comes to Google Ads. Way off topic. Okay? Back to the article. Why do we publish these videos? We want attorneys to understand how this works before they engage with us. Not having realistic expectations is a path to disaster between a law firm and a marketing agency. Whether you're currently engaged with a company you're not happy with, before you throw in the towel with that company, read this article and go back to them. Maybe your current company isn't a bad company. Maybe you just haven't funded them well enough. That's a determination you have to decide. If you're doing this in-house, maybe it's the same way. Maybe you're not getting the results you want because you're not looking at your campaign the right way. You can't just turn this on and let an automated tool do this for you. You have to roll up your sleeves, stick your hand in the dirt, and plant seeds, and then nurture those seeds for them to grow into, fruitful ventures. You cannot just set it and forget it. Check out today's blog article. Visit our website at www.lucrativelegal.com, or you can give us a call at 805-273-8791, 805-273-8791. Thank you for visiting with us. You can always pick up the phone, call us, ask to talk to Igor. You can ask for Austin, ask for me. Any one of us are here to help you Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. And again, we thank you for visiting our Legal Leads Group podcast. Thanks, gentlemen.